younger. Sorry, it's relatively younger than like actual technology. I think before social media, I spent most like I was on the computer for a while. I definitely grew up like on the desktop. Most of my time was spent on like flash game websites. Pretty much before
Well,
like
Gabe,
Twitter
yeah,
ever existed.
Gabe mentions MySpace. MySpace is pretty
Oh
old, you
shit,
know?
you're right. Oops. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Nice one, Gabe. Who is that? Air.
Yeah, I was gonna say like MSN Messenger was like pretty popular, and like maybe when I was like a kid, I got into it a little like too early, but that was like certainly a thing, and that was in like the early 2000s. God, I remember playing like flash games and then like messaging people like when I was a kid on like MSN Messenger, and I really shouldn't have been doing that.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel mentions kids pics. Don't know it.
You don't know kids pics?
Yeah.
That it was like one of the first introductions to digital art that I ever knew of. Where it was just like the free time in elementary school, we would go to the little computer lab with those like tube computers, and like there were just tons of little brushes, and like the undo button was a little guy's head, and if you clicked on it, it went, oh no. Good stuff.
That is funny. I remember I was at a dinner in 2008 with some friends, and their daughter was in high school. And they mentioned to me that their daughter got received or sent 300 text messages in a day. I was like, I nearly choked on my food. Oh, like, holy, what the hell? And that was 2008. And that occurred to me at the time, which became clear to me later, like this is a new way of communicating all the time and easily with a lot of different people. This is not a class about how you use that service and how it's changed your relations. Though if you're interested, you should read my book. I have a chapter on it, again inspired by Micah people a lot and my own teenagers. I do think that social media has really changed the way we interact quite a bit. Not for the best. Politically, it's been a disaster. But the reason I'm getting into this conversation is because, I'm pointing out that you all have an intimate relationship with technology that I didn't have. Hell, did I tell you when I was your age in college, I was writing handwritten letters to my friends? Did we have that conversation? I can't remember. I used to fold up a fucking letter, put it in an envelope, stamp it, send it. That was 94. And then the whole world fell apart a few years later, or things changed with the email, et cetera, et cetera. I see everybody in the chat is realizing now all the old technology they used to have and when they had it, et cetera, et cetera. You're kind of digital natives, Rachel.
I was just thinking, like, I remember like being in middle school when like smartphones were just kind of becoming more normalized, and like some people in middle school had them, some didn't. And now I'm just thinking, like, how do they keep kids off of their phones in middle school? Like, how I don't get how that's enforced at all.
Zoom is this quarantine's been a disaster. I mean, I wrote an article about this a few weeks ago, but I don't think anybody here has had me in person, maybe only Daphne and Chloe and Rachel, and I tend to be like, no technology in the classroom, because I know what people are doing. It's what I do when I'm in a meeting and I'm bored. I go on the New York Times, I zone out. So I've always been anti, and with my technology, with my kids, I'm anti cell phones. I'm terrible. It's like, get off your goddamn phone. Now with quarantine, I have to allow them to sit there with the goddamn phone and their computer while they're in class. And sure enough, yesterday I walked by my middle schooler. It's terrible. It's terrible. Maybe you have siblings in this situation. My middle schooler has spent the whole year sitting at his desk in his room on a computer. It's kind of pathetic. Middle schoolers shouldn't be doing that. And he's, in the middle of some kind of like music class where they're teaching clapping. Yeah, sure enough, he was watching a football video on his phone. I mean, it's awful. I just, it's funny. I don't know if anybody here feels this way, but I had a lot of, I went through the same struggles with my older son, who's now in college. He's a sophomore. And he said to me 2 years ago, I said to him, like, that when I was in college, we didn't have social media. And he said to me, I missed that. He said, I wish I knew that. What do you think? No cell phones, no social media. I feel.
I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like, I think I honestly used social media better when I was younger than I did now. Like, I have met so many people all around the world of like-minded interests that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And I think because I have met so many people through like shared media interests, like those people have really expanded my way of thinking and like introduced me to a lot of new stuff, even like politically, socially, culturally. Like I feel like I have learned more because of being so online during my youth, but like at what cost?
Absolutely. Yeah. You do, Louis. You do need to do social media. By the way, I'm putting something in the chat here. Here's my Twitter handle. My publisher said I had to have a Twitter, and I am so bad at it. And I would really appreciate your help. Follow me, but also tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I feel so insecure. I am 49, everybody, and I just don't have the energy, the interest. Like I feel like I'm the opposite of a digital native. Like I just
I get that.
can't
But,
be bothered.
but also add an E and make it @firedbrander.
Catchier, huh? Well, that's a start. Okay. So yeah, Twitter is for 30 plus. See? God, I asked my college kid, I was like, help me with Twitter. It's like, I don't use Twitter. And you're right, Jennifer. I hate it, but it's what I have to do. I'm like a pathetic salesman. All the academics are in Twitter. Yeah, everybody has a different social media platform they're using, right? But there's something they all have in common, right? And what they all have in common is that they reveal, they betray. So here's the real issue, right? Getting into the down and dirty of you all being digital natives. Do you know you are followed everywhere, every time, and everything? Do you know this? Do you really know it? Like everybody says, yeah. I've argued elsewhere, people don't behave like they do. And it was my own MICA students who made me realize this. Here's a rule for everybody. You're not on Facebook, but my rule, when students come and friend me on Facebook, I love friends. You're not going to come. You don't use Facebook. I say, I don't accept my friends until you graduated. And then after graduate, I have a ton of MICA alums as my friends. Man alive, the things people be posting on the Facebook, it is cray cray. Okay. I mean, do people have no shame anymore? It's not just Facebook, it's everything. I don't know. Oh, I have another great article for you all I'm going to share with you. I'm full of good shit today. Shoot, where is it? Oh, here we go. So, you know, these guys may seem kind of stupid, but I suspect everybody is in the same boat. The guys who did who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, guess what they did the whole time? Selfies. Then they posted that shit. Look where I'm. One guy smoked a blunt in the Capitol. It's like, here I go blazing in the Capitol. Posted it. For the FBI, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. They found everybody because everybody's so willing to share stuff. It's crazy. So, I mean, this gets back to the question I was getting at earlier. Like, do you really know? Or maybe it's better yet, we really care? How about that? Is that better? Do we care that Google is collecting everything? Do we care what Google knows?
I care, but also, what am I going to do about it?
Rachel?
I remember, I think it was my freshman year here where my form class did a trip to New York. And while me and my group were in like Central Park, these guys were coming around and like offering like $5 Amazon gift cards if they could like use our faces for Google's like new facial recognition software. And like, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Like free money, sure. And like after I did it and they gave me the gift card, the people I was with are like, aren't you concerned that Google has your face now? I was like, dude, Google has more than just my face. Are you kidding? I don't care.
Anybody else?
From what I've seen, people generally don't care. I've been having a lot of conversations since I watched the documentary with people who either have or haven't seen it, and we share stories about like proof that we have in our own lives that we've been tracked in these certain ways. And my one coworker, I work at a cafe, he told me that a bunch of regulars that we have at the cafe started to show up on his like suggested Instagram like followers, like people that Instagram thinks that he should follow, just based on the fact that they know that they're at the same place every day. And there's no shared followers, like there's no other reason that they would know that these two people should know each other than the fact that one of them's a regular at the cafe that he works at. Like it's so, but then he told me this whole story and then he was just like, yeah, it's weird. Like it didn't seem to really affect him that he knew that.
Interesting. Thank you, Jessica. That is surveillance bleeding into the public realm. That's what she gets at towards the end of chapter 3. You know, it's no longer just limited to online following, but Google is spreading its tentacles into the public sphere and finding us, you know. There's some nice comments here. Daniel says, I like to aggressively interact with advertisements so they only show me good ads. Daniel, do you want to explain yourself? No?
Yeah.
Hello? All right, we'll get back to you.
Sorry, I was dealing with something. No, basically on like Instagram, and I mean almost exclusively Instagram, but they always send you a lot of ads on posts and in stories. And if it's something that is interesting to me, I open it up and make sure that it stays in my Google browser.
Really?
look on the website, yeah, and I'll like save the products in my tabs that I think are interesting. And if I like the idea of an advertisement, but I don't want to buy it, I'll like the post to basically like tell the search engine that like I'm supporting this content you're showing me. And if I think it's stupid, I just won't do anything and I'll ignore it.
Why do you do this?
Because I like doing my own product research and like see like I mean I am a product designer, so I like products, but I mean I like buying things, I like finding deals. And I find that if you just let the ads be ads, they suck. They don't show you anything interesting or worthwhile, and I don't care about them. But in interacting with them, it becomes like an offline search tool for me. And you know, it doesn't always work. Sometimes it still sends me lame junk, but every now and then it'll cue me in or tune me into like a really interesting sale. Like if a certain company is going out of business, like there was this outdoor company that this brand that recently got revived, and I don't think it did very well, and they were going out of business again, but they made all of their products with like industry standard materials and really nice stuff. And so I got like a $250 rain jacket for 60 bucks. And then there was like a little tiny problem with like one of the buttons. And I emailed them. I'm like, look, this button wasn't good. And their warranty service is really good because they were supposed to be a really good company. So they sent me another one. So I got two of these rain jackets for $60. And like that's because I was interacting with the ads, and it like it isn't shown to everyone. I sorry to keep talking, but I have a photo book. It's right next to me on a desk. It's like $150 photo book with like premium high quality images and acrylic front cover. There's like 30-40 pages in it of all my photography. That was because there was a voucher for $150 for this company to get a product tester, and you could just give them feedback over email or over Instagram. But that ad is only shown to people that like have that interest and have that kind of thing, and then send the email to get that approved. So I want to take advantage of it more than it takes advantage of me. I'm still like within the consumerist system, but like I'm a consumer. I'm not ashamed of that. So I might as well like beat them at their own game and get good deals out of it.
Thank you. That was really interesting. Anybody want to respond to his aggressive consumerism? I think I want Daniel to do my Christmas shopping.
Good at buying gifts, bad at paying for them.
Listening to you, I was just thinking like, God, I'm exhausted listening to you. Like, I can't even imagine no, more power to you. Like, you do it. I haven't the faintest idea how I would take that on. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody inspired by what Daniel's talking to? No. It's one way of approaching it. Take advantage of them while they take advantage of you. Why don't we dive into the text and at least pull apart some of the terms and some of the themes? Before we do that, actually, let me see what you all thought about her writing. Anybody want to speak on to how this reads? Just curious of your impressions of that.
I think there's a lot of corporate jargon that you gotta wrap your head around going through it, because all the Google terminology and stuff. I had to like keep reminding myself what things meant.
Okay. Anybody else? Was this difficult? How about that?
I wouldn't say it was super difficult.
I liked it. I thought it was easy enough to follow along with. But yeah, I did have to like search up some words because I didn't know what they were.
About the jargon, sometimes it's kind of incriminating, right? The terms that they've decided to use.
It reminds me of terms like thought leaders and stuff like that, where it's like, I don't think you get how that's like reading to the public, dude.
Totally. By the way, I realize we have talked about Google before. I remember its motto. What was it? Don't be evil.
Not anymore.
Wow. This has kind of sunk that for sure. You know, I want you to think about this as more than just about Google, though, right? This is not about Google. You know, and just to illustrate how this is not about Google, I'm actually, before we dive in, I'm going to tell you a little story. Some of you might know this story. It's also been circling in the back of my head while I was listening to you all talk, because I wonder, like, how you all feel about this. This is relatively old too, right? Which I think is remarkable. In 2012, Target, it was revealed that the retailer Target was figuring out something about its customers. Anybody know what this story?
Is it the one about the pregnancy?
Yes.
I am familiar.
It was figuring out when its female customers were pregnant. And not only that, when they were in the second trimester of pregnancy. That's what they wanted to know. And they got so good at it, they could determine a woman's due date to within a day. What are your questions?
Why?
Thank you. I'll just put that one there for now.
Fucking why?
Thank you, Willie. Louis nails it. WTF. What else? Other important question. Yes, why? There's another important question, y'all.
I think someone said how in the chat.
Oh, right. How? Thank you. Who was that? Yes, Ella. How? I don't know which one you'd like to start with. I'm going to let you guys take a gander first. Who wants to take a shot at why? And don't forget, this was in 2012.
Oh, I guess it would be like market diapers and like baby toys and stuff to them. All the expensive shit.
Okay.
Also, like, I mean, specifically, like health and lifestyle things get overwhelmingly marketed towards women. And once you're pregnant, a whole new market of health and lifestyle things like prenatal care, like there's so much personal health and wellness that gets kind of shoved down your throat.
You got to get those healing crystals to make sure your baby's chakras are aligned when it comes out.
Okay. Both of you are not fully there. I do appreciate your attempt. Jennifer, they are more emotionally vulnerable, maybe. There's more. Why women in their second trimester? I will give you all a chance. Maternity clothing. Thank you, Teresa. Not a big sector of the market, though. Anyone else?
What was the question?
Why?
Is it?
Why second trimester?
Yeah.
Why were they zeroing in on those women?
Second trimester.
Are you guys done? You want me to tell you?
I have a.
Less likely to miscarry?
Is it because of baby showers? Like they register through Target or
Well,
something?
There's actually two questions here. Why do they want to know when they are pregnant? Why that in the first place? What's so special about pregnancy? What's so special about pregnancy is marketers, and by the way, this is, if you're interested, I can share with you the article about this. Jennifer, not quite even. It was detailed. There was a major article in the New York Times Sunday magazine in 2012. I mean, this is just so eye-opening about the science of market research. They have determined that there's like 1 or 2 times in a human's life where your brand allegiance is so up in the air that it can be radically reoriented. And pregnancy is one of those. And what that means is, like, and I'll tell you how this worked out in my life. When I have 4 kids, and when they were young, yeah, I was at Target all the time. And guess what? I would buy everything else when I was there. And you all know the saying, Target, right? The Target I go to is in Towson, and on the other side of it is a Walmart. And Target shoppers and Walmart shoppers do not mix, right? That's 2 different realms. Like, you make a decision, like, I am a Target shopper, and this is my allegiance right now from now on, right? And I know Target, they think they're a little snooty, but basically, why pregnancy? Because you can grab customers and really draw them in at that point, unlike any other. All right, why? The other question is, why second trimester? Why they want to know when women were in their second trimester?
I don't know if this was already guessed in the chat, but I would guess that the second trimester is when you learn the baby's gender, or not gender, sex, and they can market gendered clothing and goods to the pregnant person in preparation for the female or male baby.
That's brilliant. The answer is no. Great suggestion, though. I love it. You should work for Target.
That was worth a guess.
Anybody else? It's actually a little more prosaic than that. There's nobody here who's had a baby that I know of in this class. But when you have a baby and you're sitting in the maternity ward, you know what happens? You start getting coupons from all these various they want to sell you shit, bottles and diapers and blah. Why the second trimester? Target wanted to get in on that early. They wanted to beat the competition. Makes sense. So that's kind of boring. The really interesting question is how? Because second trimester, you guys know what that means? Time-wise? That's 3 to 6 months. That's from relatively early in the pregnancy. And did you hear the part where I said they could zero in and predict a woman's due date from within a matter of days? Did you hear that part? Which suggests, most marketers, they know you have a baby when you have the baby and you're sitting in the maternity ward. Target figured this out very early. Okay, so here we go. Now, the next set of questions. You all have to volunteer some answers. How did they figure this out? How did they figure out that women were pregnant nice and early? Go ahead. Let's see what you got.
For people who routinely shop at Target, if they are people who menstruate, then it would serve to reason that they buy menstruation products from Target. And so if they don't within a certain period of shopping, then Target could say, oh.
Wow. You guys are good. You guys are you're like so insidious. You can already work for Target. That makes a lot of sense to me, but that's actually not one of the products mentioned. By the way, in case it isn't clear, Target is figuring this out from what? From your purchase history, right? So just to be doubly clear, what all purchases give you away? I mean, Chloe raises an excellent example. Pregnancy test, good. No. What else?
Like vitamins and shit.
Oh, that was good. The reason it's not a pregnancy test, I can tell you why. We bought them at Walgreens. Because here's how pregnancy tests go, everybody. You're sitting at home and your partner is like, I haven't had my period in so long. And you are like, shit, I better run to CVS. You're not going to go stand in line at Target. So I would run to the quickest CVS. Vitamins. As a matter of fact, yes. What else? But I buy vitamins. So, of course, I don't
Like
buy
suddenly buying specific vitamins that are known to like help aid pregnancy.
Do you guys know what one of those would be?
Iron.
You're close. Well, yes, probably, but I remember folic acid was a big one. Ella, not maternity clothes. I know. Why not? Because I'll tell you why not. Because when you're 3 to 6 months, you don't need maternity clothes yet. That's too late. That rules out diapers too, everybody. By the time you're wearing diapers, Target knows. It's the stuff at the very beginning.
How to raise a child or something like that. Like books or something.
Maybe. The book section in Target's pretty weak, though.
I don't know.
No, you're doing great. It's awesome. Vitamins. The point is, it is a. They determine their data analysts. They have a group of data analysts, and their data analysts determined that it was a certain collection of products that, when taken together, indicated that you were pregnant. Again, the problem with baby food, Gabe, is that that's very close to the pregnancy. We're talking about the first few weeks. So since I am the only parent in this class here that I imagine, I'll tell you, yes, vitamins. No, Branton, that's much later. Also, it's vitamins. It is body cream. And it is cotton balls. When these are purchased together at a certain date, Target's data analysts discovered they could find when women were early in their pregnancy. This is not exhaustive. There were other products. What does this say to you? What does this illustrate?
That Target is run by creeps.
What else? What does it tell you about data analysis?
It's you can
It's fun.
It's fun? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm talking to the people who are going to work for Target. Unbelievable fun. Yeah, I guess so, in a
it's
way.
a puzzle, probably, you know?
Fun,
It's
fun.
pretty fun to find out.
you can learn things about people from like for seemingly unrelated variables. So you don't have to actually like technically invade their privacy by like looking at medical files or anything to figure out what they're dealing with.
That takes us back to what Air was talking about earlier, right? Who knows what you reveal about your health situation, right? What are you looking up on WebMD? What all are you purchasing at the grocery store, right? That gives you away, right? Couple things here. We're not talking about Google. We're talking about Target. This is what Target is up to. And this is what Target was able to do 9 years ago. What do you think Target can do now? They can do a lot worse. The other thing I think is illuminating here is you don't know the kinds of things that these analysts are looking for. Target knows you're pregnant before you do. Yes, they actually do. One of the most horrible stories in the article about Target from 2012 is there was an incident where a man stormed into Target. By the way this works is, Target is going to then market to you, and they'll market heavily to you in terms of pregnancy related goods. And a man stormed into Target and he's like, hey, you sent a flyer to my 16-year-old daughter with all this child shit on it, pregnancy shit. What are you trying to do? Trying to get her pregnant? And the manager's like, oh my God, sir, I'm so sorry. I will desist, blah, 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 blah. He goes home. He comes back the next week and he says, I'm sorry. You were right. She is pregnant. Target knew. Target knew before he did. And Target is able to collect all this stuff on the basis of what I would call pretty arcane or pretty esoteric data and information, right? I have to say, when I talk on this topic, I often, I ask these questions about the Target example. And this is the first time I think anybody's ever gotten one of them right, the vitamins. Usually people miss it completely. I'll ask you another one, because here's another little fun quiz. Yeah, you guys all know what it means to be credit worthy. Companies are interested in knowing if you're credit worthy, because then they can offer you a credit card, right? I don't know if anybody is familiar with this outfit. Has anybody here ever heard of the chain called Canadian Tire? The name should hint something to you. They're not actually based down in the States. They're based in Canada. Anybody heard of Canadian Tire? Wow. Nobody likes Canada around here. It's their equivalent of Walmart. I don't know why they're called Tire. I think they probably had to. They dealt in tires at one point. They branched out. Sounds sketch. They're not sketch at all. They're very lovely. Canadian Tire. When you go up to Canada, you see Tim Hortons and Canadian Tire all over the place.
I don't think you'd be bringing them up if they weren't sketch.
Well, there's as sketch as everybody. Okay. This is an example I like to give to indicate how this science of data analysis works. Canadian Tire's data analyst discovered that if you purchase one product more than any other product, this product means you are very credit worthy, meaning you have an excellent credit score, and they can give you a credit card, know you'll pay your bills. What product, what purchase indicates that you are very credit worthy? Collared shirt pins. Daniel, why? That's wrong, but I'd love to hear your reasoning.
I mean, it's something that is already included in the clothing that you would buy if you owned a collared shirt, which means that you would be throwing away the old pins to get nicer pins to keep your collared shirt nice, but it doesn't need it. Like, there's just so many extra things you're doing where you're throwing money away to maintain status. And I think it would fit in perfectly to paying your bills on time.
Dish towels? Chloe, why'd you say dish towels?
I feel like everyone who's good at adulting has a surplus of dish towels so that whenever they get dirty, they can change
Good
them.
at adulting. I love it. Was it a food product? Definitely, we're not ready for a hint yet. Is it a food product, Gabe? It's not a food product. Although I bet you could give me some suggestions of what good food products might be, indicators. Probably not Cheetos. Maybe whole grain bread. Good at adulting. Home workout equipment. Sean, why'd you say that?
I mean, it's like a sort of luxury expense that I feel like people can't, who like people who would have credit issues wouldn't own probably. Like I doubt you would have a treadmill and also like 3 overcharged credit cards.
Nice. Gabe, explain yourself. Why a boat? Gabe? Hello, Gabe. I'd love to hear your reasoning for a boat. Are you not with us? You were.
It's going
Okay.
in and out. I don't know. Boat's like really expensive, and
Yeah.
like you have to like purchase a dock too, and all that licensing and stuff like that. I don't know. That's a lot. So for
Just you're
sure,
spending a lot of money, right?
yeah, definitely.
I have a very important question for Gabe and everybody here. Does it suggest that you are good with your money?
I'm like in the middle. I feel like if people who have a boat have money to buy a boat, but also I feel like not a lot of people will just buy a boat just because. But I don't know.
Credit cards want people who are good with their money.
Well, my brother-in-law is interested in buying a boat, and there's a saying about boats that people who buy boats, the happiest day is when you buy a boat, the second happiest day is when you sell it. That's what they say. Of course, I'm here on the Chesapeake Bay, so boating is big around here. It is expensive. It's not necessarily indicating it's, you know, that you have a lot of money. Ariana suggests a Peloton. Okay, I'm getting closer. It has to do with your furniture.
The things that stop the floor from scratching.
How did you effing know that? Did you read my article?
No, wait. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yes.
No? Really?
Damn, Daphne. You have a
Because you're
future
like,
in
I
data
think good with your
analysis. I think we
money.
found a job for you. Ah, yeah, it's the little felt pads. Felt pads that protect your furniture from scratching the floor. If you buy them, Canadian Tire will immediately say, ding, 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 credit card, credit score. Teresa is getting a credit card very soon.
So should I just buy a bunch of felt pads to get a good credit score?
I don't know. Maybe you could try it. Who knows? Well, okay. Hang on, Sean. Who wants to know? Who wants to make a guess when they figured this out? What if I told you they figured this out in 2004? This is ancient history. So again, everything you're reading here about Google, everybody else is doing it and has been doing it for a very, very long time. That's 17 years ago. Who knows? You all were wee little babies. Who knows what Canadian Tire has figured out now? Who knows what they know? Hell, they're not even interested in data anymore. Now they're interested in metadata. What's metadata?
Isn't that like, oh wait, shit. I'm gonna assume it's the data about the data.
Yeah. Anybody want to give me any examples?
In photography, it's like the location and the time that a photo was taken.
Yeah.
And all of the camera settings that was used.
Awesome. How does that pertain to like email, cell phones, blah, blah, credit cards?
Well, they're not allowed to look at your emails, but they're sure as hell allowed to know who you're emailing and how many times you're emailing them and when you email them.
So you all remember the Edward Snowden affair back in 2013. By the way, his wife is a MICA alum. I think they're married now. He was been based in Maryland for a while. Interesting, Daniel. Okay. Snowden, when he revealed, right, what he revealed is that the NSA, the National Security Agency, which is our premier spying agency. They're based in Fort Meade. They're the next exit past the Baltimore airport on the way to Washington. 15,000 people they employ right there. It's huge. Usually their exit on the highway is closed, by the way. They don't let you in. They were engaged in what's called mass collection. They were collecting data on information on everybody, innocent or not, suspect or not, supposedly in the fight up for terror, against terror. But, you know, and Snowden revealed they were doing this. The defense of the NSA, voiced by Obama at the time, was, hey, they're not reading your emails. They're not looking at your purchases. They're only collecting your metadata. That was their defense. The metadata includes, as Evan is indicating, is the details surrounding your emails, like when, to whom, or where, you know, how long, right? As for your purchases on your credit cards, like, again, where are you shopping? Where are you going? Right? If in Baltimore City now, you have to use a credit card when you want to park, right? Taken together, can this be very revealing? Yeah. You can start to get a pretty good idea of people. And the problem is that we really have little idea, as I've been trying to impress upon you all, we really have little idea about how our company, how these tech companies and their analysts are making sense of our data. One example, I mean, I have lots of examples, but one example is, you know, online credit card companies are interested to see if you write in all caps. Online banks are they have a whole formula to see if you invoke God in your application, they will decline you, right? Things like that. That's data though. Metadata, I recently found out that data analysts are studying the way you hold your cell phone, like at what angle you tilt it. It turns out that each of us have unique patterns, and they're studying the way you swipe. They are studying the way and because the way you hold your phone and the way you swipe. These are they determine that these reveal your identity. Right? Each of us has such unique ways of doing this. They've discovered that there's unique ways we use our mouse on the computer. And that also betrays us. And there's another example that Shoshana Zuboff gives later in her book where she says, they could give a shit what's in your emails. They're paying attention to your punctuation, whether you use punctuation, it's not what you list, but it's how you list things. It's that kind of stuff they're interested in as they build these profiles of us. So she talks about, I'm going to reference the text now. I love the way she puts it. She's a pretty dramatic writer. Sometimes I'm not sure how I feel about that. But she talks about like the high priests of Google, that they have this really, you know, esoteric business model. They have this really esoteric method for extracting, you know, key information about us, and we can't possibly understand it. Oh yes, here it is on page 81. She talks about a priesthood. Let me see if I have a quote here. This is the bottom page 81. Actually, the bottom page 80, she gets into the state. To state all this in plain language, Google's invention revealed new capabilities to infer and deduce thoughts, feelings, intentions, and interests of individuals and groups with an automated architecture that operates as a one-way mirror, irrespective of a person's awareness, knowledge, and consent, thus enabling privileged secret access to behavioral data, ours. And then the bottom of 81 says, these capabilities were and remain inscrutable to all but an exclusive data priesthood, among whom Google is the Übermensch. They operate in obscurity, indifferent to social norms or individual claims to self-determining decision rights. She uses the word that Google operates as a one-way mirror. Do you guys know what she means by that? Why she says that Google operates as a one-way mirror?
They're a very secretive company, so they know all about what you are doing and what's going on with you, but you have no clue how they are using that information that they're gathering.
Yeah. Why is Google so secretive? Why is Google so secretive?
Because people wouldn't like what they do.
People wouldn't like what they do.
In detail.
By people, which people? Like
users?
Yeah. Do you guys agree? If people fully knew what Google did, they wouldn't like it.
I think a lot of it, especially considering how much Google sells information for advertising, is mostly just like on that front. If you knew exactly what information was being taken and where it was being sold, obviously you wouldn't buy from those people unless you really wanted to. But I think a lot of people would probably have the adverse reaction of like, well, they're buying my data, so I don't want to buy their products. But if you don't know, then it can just be a game of chance.
I think also if they were to reveal what data they were processing and how they were processing it, they would probably lose some of their business because more companies could do what they're doing and make their own money. And Google is so successful because they're like the only one capable of doing this because they're so secretive about it.
How do you all feel about Target now?
You're just trying to get by.
What does that mean?
They're just trying to make money. I'm joking.
They're just oh, you said they're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. They are just, you know, by the skin of their teeth. They're just getting by, Daphne. You're right. Poor old Target. Daphne, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a multinational corporation. Are you trying to apologize for them?
You're being sarcastic, right?
Yes. I like the way you put it. They're trying to get by. I mean, it sounds like you're excusing them. I don't think you're alone, by the way. I think your classmates might agree with you. See, Daniel says, I like Target. So why am I pushing this? Because I asked a second ago, would people really, why is Google being so secretive? Would people really be upset if people knew? Well, I just pulled the curtain back on Target and I don't know.
I mean, I think the issue is not that people don't care, but I think the issue is like, what are you supposed to do about it? You can't. I mean, like you gotta buy stuff from somewhere. So like, if every place is doing this, then what's the difference if it's from Target or Walmart?
Sure.
Really.
Good.
Unless you have like a nice mom and pop shop in your hometown that has like access to all the same stuff, which is unlikely.
Seriously. No, I know. I agree with you. Daniel, you said two things in particular that kind of caught my eye. I'll start with this one. Why do you have a different relationship with Target? What does that mean?
I think maybe twice I've ever gone onto the internet and looked at anything on Target. And that's because I wanted to know if they had a folding table and it was in stock. And so like the data collection, I guess you're speaking more to like when you go into the store and then buy
Yes.
something.
Yes, your purchase history.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but like I don't see Target ever influencing anything that I buy ever, unless like I see a tag and it's like, oh, 50% off on this random thing, which is just complete happenstance. There's no I'm not like browsing through Target and then Target pops up with these ads. It's like, you want to buy this. And I'm not like seduced by the layout or like any way that they're not targeting me. Target doesn't target, if that makes sense. I target Target. So when I'm on Google, like I'm not trying to buy stuff from Google. I'm not going to Google looking for like like Google's not like a store. It's a store online. There's like I search things on Google, so I guess I do go to Google to look for stuff. But it's a different relationship, is what I'm saying. Like I don't mind Target using my data because they're coming up with patterns to figure out what people are buying to better serve their business specifically. I don't think they're coming up with data to like manipulate me, because I don't see how they could possibly manipulate. I'm just walking in and I want shampoo. I buy the shampoo. I went in, I was going to go buy a folding table. They didn't have the size I want, so I left. You know, I'm not going to buy the folding table if they don't have it. So it's just my 2 cents.
That's the thing though, is like it's designed to be in a way where you don't think it's affecting you.
Well, you read my mind, Sean. Here's the thing about manipulation, right? You use the word, Daniel, which is the apt term. That is what scholars are worried about, that the spying will lead to manipulation. But here's the thing about manipulation. Do you know when you're being manipulated?
What counts as manipulation though? Because like if I go to a supermarket and I need green onions and rice, I'm gonna go around the whole supermarket and I'm gonna buy 10 different things that I don't need other than green onions and rice. But I'm gonna do that because I like food and I want to go around and look at the food. I'm not gonna do it because they strategically located a new flavor of chips on the left corner of a certain aisle, or I'm gonna walk past to go get something healthier like water and then want a salty snack. Like it just like I understand that they're trying to do this, and I know that like the layout of stores is really important, but I think it's a whole other level when Google does it and target and show stuff in your face that has nothing to do with like where you are going on the internet, because they own everything, or they are in partnership with websites and places that can show their stuff, so they can literally follow you. Whereas Target, like they can have stuff in the store in a convincing layout, but I'm not like having some smoke mirror show follow me around and like a freaking aisle pops out of nowhere with a magician that's like, oh, you can get this new product for 20% off if you give us your email. Like they don't, it's a store. Like like to me, the Google is way more invasive in that regard.
Yeah.
Like, can Target and like other companies just buy data from Google? Like, does it work or not? So
I mean, we kind of skipped over that. She opens up the book saying, the chapter saying like, who are the customers? Not us, right? There's a saying in digital circles, like if you are getting a service for free, that means you are the product. We're not the customers. The customers are the marketers. Who is Google selling this information to? Target is likely one of those buyers. But, Daniel raises some good questions, like we have to think about manipulation differently from a store from Google. You know, I don't have an answer for how a store manipulates me. I really don't know. I don't know. But here I put another question in the chat. Maybe it's not that big a deal. Is it that big a deal to be manipulated? You know, that's something we have to come to grips with. You know. Anybody else want to speak to this issue? I'm sure, like when I walk in and product placement, is that manipulation? I don't know. I walked into Safeway the other day and there was a big display of Cheez-Its and I was hungry. I bought some Cheez-Its. Was that manipulated? I don't know.
That's the thing, is like, it's all about convenience. Because the more you interact with a product, the more likely you are to get it. Like, even if you say that you're only there because you want a specific thing, it's like, oh, well, I saw fucking pizza Pringles, which I haven't had for 10 years, like, and they're right there. All of a sudden, I'm just like, dang, you know, I haven't had pizza Pringles in a while. I want some pizza Pringles.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if I wasn't going to the snack aisle, I wouldn't have seen the pizza Pringles and I wouldn't have bought the pizza Pringles. But that's why they have all those like things set up in the middle of the of like the main aisles, because it's like you see them and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that thing that I like kind of like. I'm sorry, are you insulting pizza Pringles, Rachel? Get out of here. Get out of here. Pizza Pringles are the best.
Let me give you an example of where this manipulation is going. This is on page 154. Please take a look at this if you have your text there handy. She really reveals, you know, where this might go. The top of the page, she says, you know, in this progression, Google perceives an opportunity that it hopes its customers will come to appreciate its ability to influence actual behavior as it occurs in the real spaces of everyday life. In 2016, for example, the corporation introduced a new Maps feature called driving mode that suggests destinations and travel times without users even selecting where they want to go. If you search for a hammer online, then driving mode can send you to a hardware store when you buckle up your seatbelt. Google is integrating this push technology into its main mobile search app. Right. The next paragraph, with this app, Google, the Copilot, prompts an individual to turn left and right in a path defined by its continuously accruing knowledge of the person and the context. Predictions about where and why a person might spend money are derived from Google's exclusive access to behavior surplus and its equally exclusive analytic capabilities. Eat here, buy this. Google's surplus analysis can predict that you are likely to buy an expensive woolen suit, and its real-time location data can trigger the proprietor or advertiser's real-time prompt matched to your profile and delivered at the very moment that you are within sight of the flannels, tweeds, and cashmeres. Push and pull, suggest, nudge, cajole, shame, seduce. Google wants to be your co-pilot for life itself. So that's the future you're looking at. Related to another question she asked a few pages earlier. These Silicon Valley tech firms, they are lauded for being brave and courageous and expansive thinking when they invest in all kinds of new technologies, like self-driving cars. Why is Google investing in the self-driving car, everybody?
So they can know where you're going.
It's their way of learning more about you so that they can then influence you in the way we're talking about here, right?
Co-pilot for your life, I think, was what Zuboff said.
Yeah, it's funny. This is such a minor example, but I'm thinking I spent last week, I think I went to 3 different Walgreens looking for, well, I was looking for like a printer cartridge. I didn't want to have to go into Staples. And finally I found it at the 3rd one. You know, maybe in the future, Google will be like, what do you want? Oh yeah, it's that CVS right there. You know, and guess what? I might be thrilled. I might say, thank you, Google. That's awesome. Anybody have any comments about this future that awaits? Being driven by Google, your co-pilot?
I have a huge problem with self-driving cars and artificial intelligence, and I'm wondering, like basically my problem is it's similar to how 5G came out and people didn't really care because the 4G LTE was already like pretty fast. And like I just don't understand. People are pushing so hard for these innovations that to a lot of people may actually be unattractive, and then they're forcing it on us. And I've seen it happen sometimes with certain apps. I can't really think of a specific example, but I know there's been a time when like there's been a certain update on a popular app, and I'm sure everyone's been like, oh, why the hell did they do this? This sucks. But when I think about self-driving cars and AI, I understand the certain benefits of it that can be tantalizing, but just like, especially in the United States, driving a car is such a huge emblem of like freedom and fun and just culture here. And to try to take that away from people in this kind of like slow push view from driving in the name of like safety and whatever, I don't buy it, especially because so many accidents can happen from environmental conditions that have nothing to do with your driving ability. Like it's just an inherently unsafe thing to do. It just seems like a way to mess with your life and just control more of it. And like I don't understand how these companies are getting so much money and support to invest in these things.
All right. Here's a question in the chat. Who's in the mood for self-driving cars? Anyone? Anybody interested? Gabe is.
Yes, honestly.
Evan, they're on board. I would put my hand up too. Yeah, and Sean. Any of the enthusiasts want to speak up? Because I do believe this is the major innovation that will come in your life. The smartphone was in my life. I think you'll see self-driving cars. What do the enthusiasts have to say?
I just hate driving.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I just hate driving.
I think like Daniel made a very interesting point about like symbolism in driving in America. And I think there's another point to be made about how inaccessible a lot of American cities are, especially like mid-level cities, in terms of like they can only really be fully accessed through driving. And so you either drive yourself or you have rideshare. And rideshare has so many of its own difficulties and complexities in terms of like labor and the people who make those apps and things. And so I think that like obviously the safety of it has to be very thorough, and I think we'll probably see a lot of hiccups about that in our lifetime. But like if it is safe and it is available, it could mean like a lot of revolutionary things for a lot of people who don't have access to other ways.
Nice. I want to hear from like Diamond and Zeke. What do you guys think of self-driving cars? Vinny? Some of you guys? Hello?
I mean, I don't really care about that.
You don't care? Doesn't matter either way?
Driving license now. So I just want to get my driving license first. And I think about, like, yeah, I don't know.
Concerns. Air. Go for it.
Hi, I don't know. I kind of want to stay away from like usage of cars and things. I feel like it's overrated and things. Like you go to Europe and stuff and it's like not necessarily like so prevalent to like own a car, you know? So I feel like indifferent whether or not to get like a car or not. I don't have a license or anything. I personally don't like the thought of having to drive because it like, I don't know. This is just like me being like trying to like stir the mixer, but like
I'm with you, Air. I'm with you. I've lived in Europe. My best friend lives in Toronto. I visited there. I would love it if we didn't have to drive.
Like,
love it.
just our infrastructure in like our country is like so like it's a necessity to have a car, which I understand due to like how dispersed we are, like rural places and things. Like if you're living in like a city or like in a densely populated zone, I don't necessarily think it's like important to have a car, especially when like considering the future with like Biden's new plan to build like maybe more railways to like hit things. Maybe that will cause like positive precedents for maybe a like more like mass transit and things. I don't know. I'm personally I like doing mass transit over like having like a personal vehicle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, well, personally, like this is gonna be a complete turnaround. So I'm like really involved in the car community in Maryland and stuff. I photograph car shows and events and all these different clubs and things. And my first car was a 5-speed 1985 300ZX, and now I have a Mustang that's also a manual. And kind of like what Daniel was saying in the comments, there's this like recreational value of owning a car, and I feel like even if cars are self-driving at one point, I mean, I think there's that movie, it's called like iRobot with like Will Smith in it. All the cars are self-driving except his. And I kind of feel like there's still gonna be that idea until the point where they make it a law where everyone has to, where people are no longer allowed to drive. But then at that point, it'll be interesting to see where things are. But even with like self-driving cars, what about motorcycles and self-driving self-driving motorcycles and self-driving scooters? Like how far is it gonna go?
You know what's coming first, right? Are self-driving trucks. That's coming first. And that is potentially the most terrifying. But that's coming first because, well, we discussed this with the Peter Frey's book. This is a big frontier for automation. And then you're going to talk about 70,000 truck drivers that are put out of business. But speaking of what Chris is saying, like, and Air are saying, you know, Chloe pointed out this is potentially revolutionary. It is. One of the ways in which this is potentially revolutionary is that some people are predicting that car ownership will vanish altogether. You'll have some conflation of automated self-driving cars and Uber, and you'll say, well, I have to get to work now, and you'll program a ride which will come and pick you up and convey you. It's going to be that kind of a thing.
This just seems like such a urban, narrow-minded way of thinking about the like. I don't understand how people can see that this could possibly apply universally. Like they clearly haven't lived anywhere outside of Los Angeles, the Bay Area, or like New York City. Like you cannot. I mean, even I'm from Arizona. You all know this. Even in Phoenix, it's a huge metropolitan city. It's the 6th biggest in the country. It's so spread out. It's so hot. It is like we have a light rail system. We have some public transport, but like you can't function without having something that gets you from an obscure place to another, and to be able to have a whole network of programming stuff. Like what happens if you want to go to a road trip, you want to visit some obscure place? Every single place that isn't a major destination is going to die and fall off the map if you're just relegated to programmed vehicles. Like it just seems so ridiculous to me. And people just want to propagate it because it's the people that live in populated cities that just talk and speak with designers and innovators every day and have no concept of what's going on outside of their little bubble. And it's really frustrating. Like, does anyone else like feel that, or am I like a lunatic here or something? Like,
we always have the horse-drawn carriage.
We do. There's one in Bolton Hill sells groceries.
A
Yeah,
rabbit.
I haven't seen him in a while though.
Well, I have a response to you, Daniel, but Chloe had her hand up. Chloe, do you want to say something? Okay. Page 151 in your text, Daniel, indicates Google's closely guarded ground truth project, a deep map that contains detailed logic of places, walking paths, goldfish ponds, highway on-ramps, traffic conditions, ferry lines, parks, campuses, neighborhoods. Goes on to reveal that on the next page, Google was outfitting with the genius of Google and their ilk is that they don't have to do the spying for anymore. We do the spying for them. That they bought Waze, and Waze effectively, we do the mapping for Google. And the top 152 points out, like bottom 151, Street View's fleet of surveillance gathering tools had been augmented to include a backpack, a three-wheeled pedicab, a snowmobile, a trolley, tourist boards, and nonprofits were offered the use of companies' trekker equipment to collect views of remote and unique places that were literally and figuratively off the grid. Isn't that what you were just talking about, Daniel? Off the grid. It sounds to me
No,
like
I don't
self-driving
think
cars is not a problem. It's not a problem for them.
This is distinctly different from my core argument, because like if you've ever tried to buy a home in a remote area, you'll notice that there isn't a Google Street View. But if you go to like a somewhat popular hiking place within a mile or two around there, you can then see some information on it because it's a destination. But I just think that like, again, it's not there isn't everything. Like what I'm saying is that places that you could discover on your own with your own sheer will of looking with your eyes and seeing something and being like, that's cool, I want to go over to there, is gonna disappear if you just live in your own bubble of random places that you want to go. And of course it's all going to be ranked and compiled based off of whatever the new trend is, just like TikTok has algorithms that just basically spews out shit that you want to see until it's exhausted and new trends come alive. Like the discovery and exploration of the natural world within the Americas and beyond is going to basically be a myth for anyone that lives somewhere that's dominated by automated transportation and has no will or desire to do anything on their own. Like that's a dystopia to me. I would hate that. I would hate to live in that.
Good. Daphne.
So are we talking about like a future that only has public transportation? Is that what you're...
Well, no, I
Well,
think
so
Daniel
people
is talking about a world where every inch is known, right?
Well, I mean, I'm saying just like even if automated public, like everything is there, like automation, and like we don't have to drive anymore. Why would we still not have our individual cars? Like, what's the scenario that you're talking about, Daniel?
Oh, that's slightly different. Why? I can't remember. I guess there's like, I guess it follows from what Chris was saying. Like, if you're not going to be driving this thing, then what's the point in owning it?
What I'm saying is the comment that someone was making earlier, it might have been you, that was just saying that like self-driving cars can now take you to wherever you need to go. And like, what if there's a society where it's just all like you plug in a destination or something and there's just a series of Ubers or carpooling things that take you somewhere.
Yeah.
And basically what I'm looking at with that is you're basically turning your physical transportation into like a social media service at that point.
Yeah.
Like something that's very public but still controlled by private enterprises. It's probably going to have some ability for you to like show or explain how you're going. So like it just you're putting so much control in other people and other things for something that is at its root a personal endeavor and expression. And I don't like that conflicts with me.
Daphne, did you want to respond?
No.
Okay. Think about it. Air.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that, and really, like having private transportation is a luxury. It's not really a privilege. It's not something that like all people can afford access to. So in speaking about like those types of things, I think it's really like something like luxurious. It's I don't know. I'm trying to think of this as like, would this be better for like the common person? Like
Well, you wouldn't have if I mean, in my view, in the scenario I was drawing out where you don't own the car, you don't. What would this do to your car insurance? I mean, the car insurance industry would be radically changed anyway, even if you own your self-driving car, because your liability for accidents would be reduced. So it would make the whole thing a lot less expensive. Air.
yeah, for sure. I think like personally, I wouldn't be opposed to it because I don't know, just for like low income people, I feel like it would be a lot easier for them to have transportation to jobs and things, especially like the only people that this would really be hurting would be like rural,
Well,
in my
let me
opinion.
say something to what you said earlier, Air. Why? I mean, I'm with you. I prefer public transportation myself, but I think this is probably likely the future in America, just because our cities are so sprawling. Our cities are not like, especially like where Daniel's from, like Phoenix. If anybody's been to Atlanta, like these cities are just not designed in such a way that you can now easily construct public transportation. You'd have to redo them again all over. Portland is a notable exception. They actually built neighborhoods along their tram lines, but that's the only city in the country that did that. No one else did that. So I think because public transportation is largely going to be difficult, this is going to be the future, I suspect. And
It's definitely going to change up a lot of things because considering like I was looking into like getting an apartment on like the rail line to New York City, and just like everything around there is so expensive. So in order to like decentralize from those like pivotal places that are so
Yeah.
privileged to have like access to public transport, it would be just like really, I don't know, it would innovate like the whole thing. It would change prices of like neighborhoods and things, I feel.
it would change a lot. It would change a ton, and in ways that we don't even know yet. You can disagree that it's coming. I think I heard some excellent arguments here against it, and I think a lot of American consumers would not go for it. Americans love their cars, I get that. Sean, did you want to say something?
No, I think Air was covered what I was thinking pretty effectively.
But I'm with you, Air. I love like subways and trains and light rails when they work. You all know the Baltimore light rail. What a disaster. It doesn't have enough usership. It would be better if it had more usership, but it's kind of a chicken and egg question. It's not going to get better till there's more users, and it's not going to be more users till it gets better. Oh man, Olivia. Excellent question. See? It shouldn't, because that shouldn't happen, because self-driving cars should drive the speed limit all the time. I'll tell you why I like a self-driving car. Then I can get in my car, say, take me to Micah, and I can bring my coffee and I can prepare on the way, and I won't have to sit in goddamn traffic. I hate traffic. I feel like I lose hours of my life. Instead, now I'll sit in traffic, like, fuck it. I'll catch up on Netflix. I'll read. I will prepare my class. I'll drink my coffee. Take my time. It's okay. I can go out for drinks with the boys after, and ladies, whoever wants to take me out. I'll go out for drinks, get a little tipsy. Screw it. Get back in the car, drive me home. Awesome. I'll sleep on the way home. Amazing. So anyway, but how we got into this conversation, Google is investing in all this innovative technology, not for the sake of being courageous and foresightful, but because they want to envelop us, and they want to infiltrate our lives and envelop our lives so that they can be our co-pilot. They'll learn everything about us by directing us everywhere we go. And they're not alone, of course. And then they might direct me, they might prod me to certain destinations, you know. I think, well, I'm going to wind things up here, guys. Oh, Daphne has a comment. If I understand, the argument you were making was that what if we want to go somewhere versus what you said in responsibility versus, I don't think all cars would be automated. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And I have to be honest, I haven't really thought of that world where we're going to have both. That would be strange. But I mean, in case you all weren't aware, one of the major reasons people want to institute self-driving cars is to root out the single greatest factor behind accidents, which is human error. I'm teaching my 16-year-old daughter to drive. It is a nightmare, y'all. It's rough. Talk about human error. I see accidents in your future. Any case, I'm going to let y'all go. This was an awesome discussion. I'm so happy that so many of you got involved here. There's a lot more to say. We are not done. I have a whole list of other issues and questions that I will touch on next week. I think I'm going to show us a clip from The Social Dilemma next week also, which is the documentary that features Zuboff. We won't have a full meeting next week. We'll meet for a while, talk some stuff over, continue this conversation. And I think that's about it. So I'm gonna let you all go. You know what you got to do in the next week. You got to get on those paper topics. For those of you who already emailed me about your topics and you're cleared, well, you start researching, get busy. Feel free to reach out to me at any point. That goes for everybody. But if you have not emailed me about your paper topic, you definitely need to in the next week. Or you have 2 weeks technically, but you might as well do it this week, okay? All right, I will stick around in case anybody has any questions, all right? All right, awesome. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Hello.